Hi there. So this is me attempting a vlog on bullet journaling. And the reason I decided to do this is because I have found this to be a really useful tool, and I have to thank some former students of mine who introduced me to the concept as they used it in their senior project to help some folks in transitional living organize all the various different appointments and things that they had to do in order to carry on, and that was one of the things they had expressed was stressing them out, was that they couldn't keep track of everything. And so my students decided to introduce them to Ryder Carroll's bullet journaling method, and it was actually quite useful for a lot of them. So when I took on a new role and decided I needed a better method of keeping track of things, I decided to look into it myself. And there will be links below to everything. Well, not everything. I have watched way too many videos at this point on bullet journaling, but some basics if you are interested in trying out this style of planning. So let's see how well this works. I know it's going to show side by side on the screen, which I wish I could make it just go to my desktop at this point, but okay. Anyway, I decided to grab just a random notebook from Target. I think this was $6, $7, and I liked that it said every moment counts, thought that was useful for a planner. And one of the nice things about the bullet journal system is you can use literally any type of notebook you want, because the whole point is that you are going to customize it to what you need. One of the most powerful elements of the bullet journal is the index. And when I first saw it, I thought, well, gee, isn't that more of a table of contents? But then I realized, since you create it as you go, and for example, if you look at my August, okay, I've got August on pages 10 and 11. Apparently I've got some other stuff in between here that I decided to do. Picks up again on page 20 to 28. Got some more stuff in between there, and then picks up again and finishes out on 33 to 35. Now that looks more like an index. It's not alphabetized, it can't be, because again, it simply gets built as you go. But this is a way to be able to go back and find things after the fact. And since I've decided that I'm also using it to, for example, take notes during meetings, I can find out, okay, any meetings related to health sciences and nursing, we have monthly meetings, so there will be more after page 51. Nursing meetings, we have twice a month, so there will be quite a lot more after page 52, and so on. So I can go back and see what notes I took at each of those. And then if I want to see, well, where the heck, are my September things, I will have that information as well. The future log, or year at a glance, I'm not sure is something I'm finding terribly useful so far, but I do like being able to at least see the full year, or 12 months from when I started, I should say. So we'll see if it migrates to whatever my next notebook ends up being, but for now I'm not, as I say, getting a whole lot of use out of it. All of my future appointments and things do go into my Outlook calendar or my Google Calendar, which then merge onto my phone into one. So when I'm looking to see what are my appointments this week, they should all be on my phone. And even if my phone gets broken, I should still be able to access those because they're backed up to the cloud. So that's where I'm looking for that information. Not sure if I'll keep this or not, but again, figured it was worth trying this element of the bullet journal system out. Another important part of the bullet journal system, which I will give the link below to Ryder Carroll's website. He's the one who invented this in the first place, and I used a lot of his same signifiers or just ways of annotating things, and then I've sort of added on and changed them to fit what I need. I've stuck with a closed bullet is a task, exit out, it's completed. Some sort of an arrow, it doesn't really look so much like this anymore. I've migrated it, meaning I've moved it to my current page so that it doesn't get lost. If I've delegated it, I decided that needs its own thing. It's going to get a D, that way I know it is mostly off my plate, but I might need to follow up to make sure that whatever it is got done. If it's canceled because it's no longer relevant or possibly never really was all that important, then it just gets lined out. If it is really important, it gets an asterisk. If it's an event, something that has an actual time attached to it, an appointment, a meeting, whatever, it gets an open bullet. I decided I didn't like this approach to the event completed, so that's all scribbled out. A dash is for just a note. If I've attended or completed whatever the event is, it gets checked off. If it gets rescheduled, it gets an arrow. If it's some sort of just aha moment of inspiration, it gets an exclamation point. And if it's something that I need to look into more, it gets a little I. So this is my first weekly spread and my first daily spreads as I attempted to try this out. And so far I really do like this weekly spread approach where you have appointments on one side, days of the week running down the middle, and specific tasks on the other side. I don't always go back and cross them out there. I just mostly use my weekly spread to inform how I set up my day-to-day spreads. Which my first batch of dailies, as you can see, were not so much spreads as just, scribbled in. And it worked okay doing it this way, but I decided I needed to put a little more structure into my daily spreads. So I did change them up going forward. And I also discovered trackers. So since I started right around the middle of August, it was actually worked quite well to create a tracker sideways on the page, as I have seen others do, and have it go all the way to the end of the month. I find it very motivating to have these little check marks that say, yes, I did do what I planned to do at this day and time. And I'll talk a little bit about the color coding when we look at September. But this is one place where I started to think, okay, yes, you can use any notebook, but for how you want to use it, you might need to think about exactly which notebook's going to do the best job for you. And we'll come back to that when we start looking at September. My daily posts, my dailies started to get a little more structured, and I definitely have to give credit that I borrowed a lot of this structure from Cara Benz of Boho Berry. And when I first saw that she would include these little weather icons and the high temperature and low temperature of the day, originally I thought, gee, why does she do that? I mean, it's cute, and then I realized, oh, she probably doesn't want to do the thing that I do all the time, which is putter around at home and then go to open the door to head to work or to wherever and realize I have to turn around and go get changed. So, yes, this makes me look at what the weather is forecast for the day so that I can dress appropriately, grab my umbrella if I need to, etc. and so on. So I decided to incorporate that. Do I need the icon? Maybe not, but I like it, and it serves a function. That ultimately is what a lot of this comes back to, is everything needs to serve a function for me. I don't use a lot of decorative things. I did try using a bit of washi tape to mark the edge of the page. Not sure that's actually turning out to be useful to me, so I don't know if I'll do that again. And over here you see a collection. That's another element of this system, is collections are basically just anything that's not a daily spread, a weekly spread, a monthly spread. It's not about your tasks, it's about a bunch of information that you want collected in one place. In this case, a list of what I wanted to pack for a trip. Now you see where I started getting a little more creative. I decided I also did like the idea of planning out how I wanted to use my hours within the day with this sort of an AM and PM time tracker. And since I was going to color code that, because of course I color code things all the time, I'm a nurse, I still want to write everything in green if it's between 3 and 11, so why not? And I pretty much followed the color coding that Kara of Bohoberry uses, because that's where I got the idea, and the colors can be found in any semi-extended set of highlighters. Although I did ultimately hit the Michaels sale on Tombos, because why not? They're really cool markers. But you could do exactly this color coding with just plain old highlighters easily enough. So, since I do my planning in the morning, I first just highlight out my sleep time up to when I actually got up, because now I'm going to plan the rest of the day from this time that I got up. And yes, I did sleep till 9. I have been a second shifter for most of my, actually almost all of my nursing career, and even when I've worked 8 to 4 shifts, my brain has still been very much on second shift time in a lot of ways, that the day starts at 3. So I'm actually working on becoming a bit more of a morning person again, as I have been in the past, now that I'm in academia, and sometimes people like to have meetings a little earlier than noon. So, point being, I'll highlight up to whenever I actually got up. Yellow for my morning routine, green for appointments. Orange, I decided, was my color for homework while I was finishing out the course in epidemiology and biostatistics that I was taking. I didn't always map out exactly my homework time, but this was a day when pretty much that was going to be my day. So I did. Pink for work. Green, again, for appointments. Somewhere along the line I started using purple for personal time, because I realized, yes, I'm not scheduling in personal time, I should do that. So I am finding that a useful tool as well, although I did change up how I use it. And I did invest in some stickers from the Bohoberry Paperie. I like these little water bottles. They have 8 little sections, so I can highlight them in blue to see if I've had my 8 8-ounce glasses of water in a day, or not. Clearly on Sunday the 27th of August I did not. Coming forward to another weekly spread. Really, the weeklies haven't changed up much. It's mostly the dailies I've been playing with, which makes sense. You create a new daily every day. More opportunities to change them. Got another collection here. I decided that this is something I've done for a while, but often with a piece of scrap paper, this is much better for me. It's actually going to stay with everything else. I make little squares for the desks in my classroom and write in the names of the students who are sitting at them, and this way I can get to learn their names a little more quickly, because students do tend to generally sit in more or less the same seat most of the time, and so that helps. But obviously I covered their names over for their privacy, even though they were only first names. Since I was buying stickers, I did buy some decorative fall stickers and stick them on my September monthly. Not sure I'm using this all that much either. I really think the weekly and daily spreads are most useful to me, but I might play around with different types of monthly spreads to see what is more or less useful. So this was my attempt at a September tracker. And this is where I started really thinking about my next notebook, even though I've got a long way to go before this one is full. And I do intend to fill it before moving on to another notebook. But since the number of lines is substantially less than 30, and even if it was exactly 30, there'd be no room left to write in headings. Well, I suppose I could write them in the margin up the top. I ended up creating these really small, crammed blocks for each day, and I decided I really, really did not like that. It felt too constrained and just was really bothering me. So I did get a September tracker sticker, also from Bohoberry, as you can see from the little logo down there. And even though ultimately I think these boxes are even a little smaller than mine had worked out to be, because it's not cutting existing lines in half, it just doesn't feel as cramped and confining to me. So I'm liking how that works. And did a little color coding. For example, yes, I am trying to stay off Facebook during the work week, but I let myself green light going on there on the weekends, which mostly is Friday to Sunday, but for Labor Day weekend I went all the way through to Monday. And then just some other things that I like to keep track of. Am I up by 8? That's my goal. Don't care as much on the weekends, but in general, yes, I want to be up by 8. Do the miracle morning. I may do another vlog on that. Did I get at least 5,000 steps in for the day? Not too often. Stay off Facebook. Just basic things that I don't want to write on every single daily, but that I do want to keep up regularly. And some of those things are things that I want to do weekly or on different schedules. I did also try using the circular mood tracker that that Kara had designed back in June of this year, and I decided, hey, it's another 30-day month, let's try this for September. And because 30 days works a little more easily for designing this than 31. And my spiritual tradition does use a lot of information related to the moon, although primarily the timing of the new moon. So since my drawings were so interesting, I did ultimately just label when the full is and when the new is. The main point of this is to see what my mood is from day to day, morning and evening. I find it a useful reflective tool, especially since I'm filling it out the next morning. So how was yesterday afternoon and how am I feeling now? Without doing a whole lot of time-consuming expansion on that, it's enough for me to just do a little reflection, and then I can look back and say, hey, 3 mornings in a row apparently I woke up stressed. What can we do about that? So I'm finding it a useful tool. I don't know if I'll always use this form, but thought it was a tracker worth trying. A writing sample, I'm taking the Positive Scribes handwriting improvement course with Kara from Bohoberry. So I decided that I would use one page as my initial writing sample and the facing page for the after writing sample, even though probably I don't know, I have a feeling it will take a little more space than just the page, but that's okay. It doesn't have to all squish in there. I did end up deciding that the time tracker worked better for me below the name of the day and the date rather than above. Just visually makes more sense to me, and I don't know if that's because of the design of the notebook or what, but that's one of the great things about this system is you can change it up and see, okay, well that was alright, but I would like it like this, so do it a little differently. And you're not ever locked in because you create each daily as you go, which is why there's the advantage of this system over a pre-printed calendar or planner. Got a little brainstorming there on an article that I'm planning on doing in a presentation, and that's it. So my main point in creating this was, let's go back to the beginning, if that's going to be sitting there in the window. There aren't a whole lot of videos out there taking a more minimalist approach, which makes sense. If you're doing really creative things, you're going to be a little more inspired to share that. But it's also useful for people who are looking for a strictly functional or mostly functional system to be able to see that, yes, you don't have to do fancy lettering, you don't have to do all sorts of creative borders. You can. And if that makes your day a little brighter, takes a little stress away, go for it. I have obviously included a bit of strictly decorative things in there. But for the most part, I try to make sure everything has a function because I want my creative energies to be focused elsewhere than on my planning. So I wanted to add to the few videos that are out there. And also I've mentioned in class, and will probably continue to mention in class, that I found this a useful organizational system. And students have a way of finding me, whether it's on YouTube or Tumblr or whatever, so I have a feeling they'll stumble onto this and might get some useful inspiration either from how I'm using the system or from the things that I'm going to link in the description box that will be more other people's styles, the original Ryder Carroll system, that sort of thing. And a particularly inspirational video that I found on why this is the best planning style for people with attention deficit disorder. And I can see how that would be true, and for any of us who are easily distracted or sidetracked by things. That it just is really useful to have this super flexible and yet really simple system. So I hope you found this useful, and if not this, then the link's down below. And I have no idea when or if my next video will be, but until then, take care.